Hello and welcome to this University of St Andrews Fringe of Gold event coming to you live from the Laidlaw Music Centre. My name is Ellen. Now, over the next hour, you're about to hear 7 pieces for brass, ranging from music written about 450 years ago to pieces composed 2 weeks ago and even a piece being improvised live today. Now, with me, we have the Wallace Collection in this wonderful McPherson recital room here at the Laidlaw Music Centre. We have a specially recorded film by our friends from the Royal Scottish National Orchestra Brass Section. We're being joined live from Germany by trumpet player and composer Markus Stockhausen, who sadly was not able to be here today due to the travel restrictions. And I've got some very special guests behind me, our Discovering Brass participants. Now, Discovering Brass is a 5-year initiative being run by the university, and it stands for St Andrews Music Participation, or STAMP for short. It's about reinvigorating the culture of playing and performing in brass bands and learning to play brass instruments. And over the summer, pandemic aside, 76 young players started to learn the trumpet with us completely from scratch, completely online and digitally. We've not met them personally yet, and we can't wait to do so. And I know some of them are behind me on this Zoom wall. So hi guys, it's great to see you. Thanks for joining us. Now, the theme for this concert today is called Stars and Satellites, and that theme was inspired by Markus Stockhausen himself. He started writing a piece called Under Stars and Satellites, which we were hoping to play today, but obviously we're not able to do that, and hopefully you'll hear that a bit later on. But that allowed us to bring in another element to our program, and I'm delighted that I'm co-hosting this concert today with Dr. Anna-Marie Weijmans from our School of Physics and Astronomy here at the university. She's part of SHINE, a public engagement project that explores music, light, and art. And together with Tim Fitzpatrick, an artist, and Bede Williams from our music centre here, Anna-Marie's worked on lots of amazing projects just like this one. Now, we're going to start our concert with 2 pieces written by Giovanni Gabrieli, an Italian composer who lived in the late 1500s. The 2 pieces are both called Canzon. This literally just means song in Italian, and this style of music became a really important part of Italian instrumental music at this time, thanks to Gabrieli. When you're listening to these pieces, see if you can hear the different instruments copying one another with the phrases of music. So here is Canzon VII, performed live by the Wallace Collection here, followed immediately by a film of Canzon Prima, or Canzon I, recorded by our friends from the RSNO Brass Section.
Thank you so much, Wallace Collection and RSNO, for those beautiful pieces of music. So my name is Annemarie, and I'm an astronomer working here in St. Andrews. So at the same time that Gabrieli was writing these pieces, there was a very famous astronomer living in Italy. And I'm sure you've heard his name before. His name was Galileo Galilei. And he was the first astronomer to use a telescope and put it on the sky. And he was the first one to discover that Earth is not the only planet with a moon. Jupiter, he found out, had 4 moons that were all orbiting around the planet. Now, nowadays we know that Jupiter has a whopping 79 moons, but Galileo discovered the first ones. And the closer those moons are to the planet, the faster they're orbiting. And the ones that are a little bit further away, they move a little bit slower around, but they all are in orbit around that planet. Now, apart from natural moons, there are also artificial moons, and they are called satellites. And there are a lot of them up there in space, circling around the Earth. And they can be very useful. We use them for communication, and we also use them for GPS, so that you always know where you are. But when you have a lot of satellites up there, that can become a little bit of a problem, because then you get space junk, and they can collide into each other and create even more small pieces up there in the sky. And if you put a lot of them up there, like a whole swarm of satellites, then that can even alter the way that the night sky looks, and therefore what stars we can see. So there's a lot going on there up in space. Now, inspired by moons and satellites, we're now going to listen to a piece that was played by our Discovering Brass participants, and it was composed by composer Andrew Knight Hill and by Discovering Brass tutor Tony George. And this is the first time that this piece is being played. So you're going to listen to a world premiere here called Satellites.
Wow, well done discovering brass participants. Honestly, we had such fun learning all about satellites with Anna-Marie and then writing that piece with Andrew. Sometimes you got a bit dizzy from all the spinning around. Now, for our next piece, we're going back in time again, this time only about 150 years. You're going to hear a very rare piece of music that's not performed very often. It was actually discovered in a Paris library by the Wallace Collection themselves. And it demonstrates the technical developments of brass instruments around this time. Now, we've been teaching this group how to play the natural trumpet, which is a very old version of a trumpet. It doesn't have any slides or any valves, and you change the notes that you play using your lips or your embouchure. And there's only about 20 or so notes available on this type of instrument. But brass instruments have developed over the years. They've now got slides, valves, and crooks. And this is to enable them to play more notes in what we call, in Western classical music, the chromatic scale. Now, you might recognize a chromatic scale. It's the black and white notes that you see on a piano or a keyboard. And this piece of music demonstrates the full chromatic note ranges available to brass instruments today. It's by a French composer called Mimart, and the Wallace Collection are actually going to play this piece using instruments that were around during Mimart's time. Now, they don't look like the natural trumpet. They also really don't look like the modern trumpets that we see, brass instruments that we see today. So see if you can spot any differences. So here is the Wallace Collection performing live Mimart's Septuour number 2.
Wow, that was an amazing piece. Thank you so much to the Wallace Collection for playing that for us. And I find it also very interesting that it is a chromatic piece, that it makes use of all the notes that are in the scale there. Because as an astronomer, what often strikes me is how much sound or music and light have in common. Because in sound, you have all these different pitches. But in music, in light, you have something similar. We don't call them pitch, we call them frequency or color. And color for astronomers is very important because when we look at the color of a star, we can learn something about that star. Stars have different colors, like our sun is a yellow star, but there are also red stars. And those stars are cold. Well, I was going to say cold, but that star is still 3,000 degrees, so still pretty hot. But compared to the sun, which is 5,000 degrees, it's a bit cooler. But that's nothing compared to the blue stars that are out there. Those are giant stars, and they can be as hot as 10,000 degrees. So if you really, really want a summer holiday, well, I still wouldn't go there. It's probably still a bit too warm there. But yeah, colors for us are very, very important. What I now would like to do is to welcome Markus Stockhausen, who is joining us live from Germany. And Markus is an international trumpet soloist, and he's also a composer, and he's well known for playing a variety of different music styles. He worked a lot with his late father, Karl-Heinz Stockhausen, who was a composer, and they developed a way of improvising music that is called intuitive music. And I'm really excited about this next piece, because Markus is going to play us an intuitive piece of music, and it's called Remote Star. So, live from Germany, let's listen to this piece.
incredible. God, I'm just speechless. I want to say thank you to your camera operator for allowing us to see you manipulating and using sort of live looping and electronics, and it was interesting to see you changing instruments and all the multitasking that you were doing. That was amazing. And also, I think thinking about today's theme, your improvisation definitely made me just think about the enormous vastness of space and what a very, very small part we are of that. So thank you. That was just amazing. I actually can't wait to ask our Discovering Brass participants what they thought of that. Now, we've been talking a lot about stars today. Anna-Marie helped me with something. When we look up into the night sky, there are so many different stars. So how do we tell them all apart?
Well, that is indeed a really good question, because it's so easy to get lost, because, as you say, there are so many stars out there. So when we look at the stars, what we do is we try to make little figures out of them, constellations. And instead of looking at individual stars, we try then to look for these constellations, because they're just a little bit easier to recognize. And there are some very famous ones, like the Plough, Orion, which we now can see in the winter that is coming. But my favorite constellation is Cassiopeia. And Cassiopeia is a constellation that is just 5 stars, and they are all grouped together in a W form. So it's also one that is pretty easy to recognize. And of those 5 stars, 4 are very hot blue stars, and 1 is a red star, so that one is a bit cooler. And if you are out on a very dark, clear night, you can actually see the difference in the colors there. Now, this constellation is also the constellation that our participants in Discovering Brass took to make another piece. So we're now going to listen to yet another world premiere. It's called Stars, and it's composed by Andrew Knight-Hill and by the tutor, Tony George. And we're again going to listen to our Discovering Brass participants performing this piece.
Wow, what another fantastic piece composed by Andrew Knight-Hill and played by our Discovering Brass participants with Tony George, their tutor. You might even have seen a bit of me in there, and also Denise Ward, another one of our fellow trumpet player helpers. So, our next piece is now by Scottish composer Eddie Maguire, who I'm told as a child was fascinated with stars and astronomy, just like us today. Now, his piece is called Auriga, which is another 5-star constellation. Now, in this piece, I'm told each instrument represents the 5 stars of the constellation. So the first trumpet is the bright star, which is capella. It's hot and fiery, and every now and then has a kind of hot flare, so you might hear that. The second trumpet is a fainter star, so therefore it's a bit more muted. The horn and the trombone take on 2 more stars, and the tuba is what's called a variable star, or a so-called variable star. It's orbited by a mysterious dark object that blocks its light whenever it moves in front of it. So here playing live is the Wallace Collection with Auriga by Eddie Maguire.
Wow, that was another wonderful piece of music. And thank you so much to our 5 stellar players here. And I'm wondering if you could indeed hear all the different stars that played their role there in that constellation Auriga. Now that brings us now to already the final piece of this concert here. It's called Michael's Farewell, and it will be played for you by Markus Stockhausen and by the Wallace Collection. Now, this piece was written by Markus' father, Karl-Heinz Stockhausen, and it is part of an opera. And that opera consists of 7 different parts, 1 for each day of the week. But what all the parts have in common is that they have something to do with light, or Licht, as it's called in German. And the idea behind them is that you can't have light without darkness. And that resonates with astronomy, because astronomers try to find out what the universe is made of and how it all works. And to do that, we need to go find the faintest stars and the faintest galaxies. But to see those, we really need the dark night so that even the faintest star can show up and shine. So I want to thank everyone here who was involved with this concert, and Markus for joining us all the way from Germany, and you all, of course, for watching and contributing to this concert. And I'm very much looking forward now to hear this final piece, Michael's Farewell, composed by Karl-Heinz Stockhausen and performed by Markus Stockhausen live from Germany, and the Wallace Collection here live from St. Andrews.